Alright guys, welcome back to another tutorial on Ultimate Character Costume 2. Well, I'm creating this tutorial because of the previous tutorial I created. It's a bit too long and you get tired along the way. So I found a way to optimize time and the ups and downs. So let's get started. So before you get started, you have to make sure you have imported the Ultimate Character Costume Customizer 2 from the Asset Store. The next should create a new scene. Okay, it's my scene. You observe I have a character controller right here that I can edit, and my character controller has geometries, editable geometries here. So check it out. You have the hairstyles. You have the first hair, the second hair, the third hair, down to the seventh hair. So I've disabled the rest and enabled the first hair that I want to set as default once the game starts. Do that to the rest of the body parts, as the clothes and the shoes and the pants. Also, you observe that the character has a camera target. Yeah, this will be the camera. The camera target will be the target where the camera will be focused on once you start editing it. Once you start editing the clothes and the body parts. Then I've taken time to create a map camera. Yeah, what this camera does is that it views the character through a sprite renderer. It uses the map form. So I've added the UL camera focus to the map camera, and in target texture I've added and dragged and dropped the map render. The size of 248 by 248. Dimension is 2D. Go back here. I dragged and dropped that in the target texture of the map camera. Next thing I did was I created a canvas. In this canvas I created an empty UI called background, and then there is a map camera parent here, of which I set the max of the map. Yeah, if you observe it, it's the max, and finally the map image, which I drag and drop the map renderer into the texture slot there in the raw image. Alright, I'm not going to go through the process of how I created a new map in this video. I'm going to go straight to the point about how to use the character tools. So next we have our model. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to make it editable. So the first thing I'm going to do here is go back to canvas. I'm going to create my background, and then to create an empty game object. There's empty UI objects. Create empty. Call this. I'm going to call this main dress room. Call this main dress room. And the main dress room, I'm going to add a single UI button. As you can see, it's in the map code, so you can drag this out. Basically, just move this anchored to that point into the module. That's the button right there. So my main dressing room. And then I pull this out like this. Increase the size of the button. So this is my face button. I'm going to change the text to hair. But button that handles the hair. Text can be hair or hairstyle, anyone you want to use the command console. I'm going to change the font size to, let's say 20, or let's say 40. Yeah, 40 is okay. Then I'm going to add vertical layouts. Main dress period. I'm going to duplicate the button. I'm going to get one button for the hair, one button for the one button for the top of the shirt and the other thing. Another button for the trouser, that will be the pants. Okay. S. Alright, so I created the 3 buttons now. One button for the hair styles, another button for the top, and another button for the pants. So next I'm going to go back to my vertical layout. I'm going to expand this to by 10, by 20, 30. Okay, 30 will do. By 30, let's see how that looks like in game view. Okay, we have this in game view here. So let's just show you. Okay. So go back to our scene view. Now we have 3 buttons for the hair and the tops. You can select the button 1, which is for the hair, and select the main dressing room, and then add Alright, sorry for the word cut. So we stopped at the hair button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add component UL custom setup. I'm going to use the object shuffle class or object shuffle because the hair game objects are separated. And we want to make only like shuffle through all the hairstyles we have. So I'm going to use the object shuffle. If you observe from the character, we have 7 hairs, 7 different hairstyles. Hairstyles being resize this to 7. First one I'm going to call H1. Class ID 0. Scene object is 01. Second object is H2. The class ID 1. Drag and drop. And 2. I'm going to call the third one H3 with the class ID of 2. Drag and drop the third hair. Drag and drop the third hair, then the third element I'll call H4. Class ID of 3. Drag and drop the head 04. Same thing goes to this one, H5 with class ID of 4. Drag and drop. H6 class ID of 5. Drag and drop the game object. H6, and the final one is a H7 class ID of 6. Drag and drop the 7th the column start, I'm going to disable column start. Then finally, for the saved hash, which is very important, I'm going to save this as a hashtag here. Yeah, take note of this saved hash because it's case sensitive. If you miss this spelling, it's probably going to load your preferences correctly. So take note of how you spell your saved hash. Selected object will be the first default object there, so that's the here 01. Next, I'm going to move to the button, back to the button game object. And I'm going to add a new event. Add a new event right there. I'm going to drag a button object there, and you can see the UL custom setup. Next, you're going to move to increase object index. Yeah. You can increase object index. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to move to the tops. Same procedure, you add UL custom setup, object shuffle, and I think we have how many tops do you have here? This, so you have one. Let's go off 2D mode. This one, we have one. Okay, we have 1, 2, and the final one is we have three tops here. So we're gonna resize. Go back to our button, second button, and we're gonna resize it to 3 because we have 3 tops. We're going to edit 2. First top I'll call T1 to save time. Class ID 0. Drag the jacket. Game object. Come on. Drag the jacket. Game object. The next object I'll call T2, class ID of 1, drag the game object there, then T3, class ID of 2, drag the final one, disable color start, change the hashtag to hashtag TOP, top. Drag the jackets. Next, I'm going to move to the pants. Well, for this model, I think the pants we have different pants, but we have different materials for the pants. So instead of us to shuffle through the game objects, we're going to shuffle through the material. I'm going to show you how that happens, how that works out. So to do that, your material should be prefabs. So from go to texture folder, looking for the materials. Okay, yeah, materials. Go back. Yeah, so this one, and I think this one. Different colors, but if you watch, if I drag and drop this is brown. I drag and drop this, still brown but dark brown. If I drag and drop this is purple. Observe the changes in the editor. Yeah, this is purple. This is brown. Finally, this is a somewhat green. Anyhow, so what I'm trying to explain here is that you can also shuffle through materials, not only the objects. So to do that, you go back to the third button, which is for the pants. And okay, before we do that, we are going to have to create the events. So go back to the previous button, create a new event, and drag and drop the button to the object slot there. Then move to functions, UL custom, this custom setup, and then increase object index Finally, we move to the final button. Add your custom setup. Since we have 3 materials, we're going to shuffle through. We're going to resize these 3. First material will be M1. M1 class ID 0. Material prefab will be this material here. Drag that material into the material slot. Then we're going to change this to skin mesh because I think what kind of mesh renderer I'm using. Okay, it's a skin mesh renderer, so go back to our button right here. We use skin mesh renderer because the game object is a skin mesh. So we're going to ignore the get mesh renderer. We're going to use the get skin mesh renderer. So we're going to resize that to 1, and then we're going to drag the present pants into that slot there. Do the same thing for the second material. We'll do M2, drag and drop this one here. Change the class ID to 1. Change this to skin mesh. Resize the mesh skin mesh renderer to 1 and drag the same present pants into that slot right there. Right, we have done for M1, M2, finally, okay, M3, that's the third material, M3. Change the class ID to 2, then drag, finally, okay, drag the final material prefab, skin mesh, so, skin mesh here. Change the skin mesh, resize 1, drag and drop the present pants. There we go. So now that we have all that set up, I'm going to change this to hashtag pants. Hashtag pants. Selected objects. We're not going to use selected objects here because we're not shuffling through objects, just shuffling through materials. Okay. So next thing to do is set up our buttons. Yeah, make sure you create the events. Don't forget that. Don't create events, it won't work. So we go back to UL custom setup and observe increase material index, not increase object index this time around. We are going for material index. So increase material index because we are dealing with materials. So increase material index. Close this one. So next we'll close our canvas. We're going to create an empty game object. We're going to call this character manager or costume manager. Anyone? Call this costume manager, whatever you want to call it. Add the UL character, game character loader. Then drag the canvas events system into the child them to the costume manager. Why I did this is so that both the canvas and the event system can pass this to the next scene without, so they don't get deleted in this scene once we get into the playable scene, because what we want is this scene to load first so that we can edit our character clothing and the body parts. Then next we want to move to the playable scene. Yeah, when we move to the playable scene, we want to keep the canvas we used and the event system in case we need to edit our character costume in gameplay. We can call it back easily. So also the character will also drag and drop the character under it, so that because I want the character to also persist in that scene. The map also should persist. We don't need the ground. Yeah, we don't need the ground to persist. So next, costume setups. Okay, the costume setup is for our main dressing room, as you can see there. All the buttons we created just now is for our main dressing room. We're going to have to create another set. We're going to have to create a side separate buttons for our in-game costume too. Okay, you guys do that. You can just duplicate this. Duplicate this. We call that our main dressing room. We're going to call this playable dress room. Why I'm calling this playable dress room? Because this will be the UI that will be available in gameplay, and not the main dress room, because the main dress room is going to be disabled once we're in game, once we're in the game scene. The playable dress room UI becomes visible while the main dress room UI becomes disabled. You can understand what I mean by that as we progress in the video. So I'm going to disable this playable dress room for now. Move back to our costume managers, game object. There, I'm going to make sure that this use in-game costume manager is checked true. On the next, I'm going to drop down the main dress room and drag the first button, drag the second button, then drag the third button. Then you're going to go to the in-costume setups. That is the in-game costume setup. You're going to drag this button, and this button, and this button. Next, we proceed to the camera settings. Okay, camera settings now. You have the use parents. Check through. Use parents value is for something like this. If you observe here, the main camera target is a separate game object from the main character game object. So if you have something like that, you should make sure you have checked the use parent. Make sure it's checked through. Next slot, there is the costume menu camera target. That will be our cam target, our player character camera target. We'll drag that there. The camera focus. Camera focus is going to be our map camera, and our in-game camera target. Then we size that to 1. In camera targets. Okay. Alright, for the in-game camera target, we're going to use the same camera target we used in the costume menu camera target. So why there are two options here for camera targets is that your game might have different camera targets for while you're playing the game and while you're trying to edit the clothes. So if you want to use different camera targets when you're editing clothes, you can just drag the camera targets into the right slots here. So this one will be for when you're in the game, while this costume menu cam targets will be for when you are editing character clothes. So to drag the in-game camera target, I'm going to use the same camera target right here. And next we proceed to the general settings, which we have the canvas menu. Canvas menu. Canvas menu should be not the main canvas, but should be our main dress room game object. Then use smart loader and start here, so that our game preferences get saved and start, and it loads the game preferences and start. I'm going to disable that for now. Then also save and disable, meaning once we close the game, all the changes we've made to the character gets saved automatically to your hard disk. Okay, for the game characters, you have just one game character available, so you can change the name to female, whatever you want to call it, female. Then I'm going to drag the playable dress room into the costume menu there. Then the character, you know it, you drag the human female character the character slot. And you can also change the key as the custom menu key. So once you are playing the playable scene, what key can pop up the custom menu? You can also select that for them. So our best key at the moment is escape key. So the in-game scene name, fine. Now moving to our in-game scene name. The in-game scene name is the name of the scene, the playable scene you're going to proceed to once you're done with setting up your character in the dressing room. So yeah, I have created a playable scene. So showcase. Okay. Alright. Looking for the playable scene. Okay, I created a playable scene here. So if you double click on this playable scene now, click on it. There's a terrain life here. Yeah, with the terrain, I've created a terrain here and I've added little water. I've added water. Yeah, I've added water. And so in your terrain, in your playable scene, what you need to do is once you're done with the playable scene, you're going to have an anchor point. The anchor point is the point where the player gets spawned at start once your playable scene starts. Yeah, so you have to create an anchor point and place this in a very comfortable place in your playable scene. I placed my own here just at the beach and I called it anchor point. And also make sure you have added the spawn identity to the anchor point. Yeah, once you've done that, your playable scene is good to go. The next thing you want to copy the name of your playable scene because it's case sensitive. So copy the name. So don't copy the name. And go back to your dressing room. Go back to the dressing room here. Alright, we're back to the dressing room. I'm going to select my costume manager back and scroll down to where we have game scene name. Game scene name, I'm going to paste the playable scene right there. So let's observe. Looks like we set up everything here. Everything is clean and ready to go. So let's check through right there. Alright. Just checking through to see this mistakes. Oh, there are mistakes rather. Okay. Alright. Everything looks fine. But the UI is terrible. I'm not trying to focus on the design UI here. This tutorial video is just based on how to use the custom tool. So if you have your own design UI, it should be easier for you to integrate this with the character custom tool. So I think we're gonna play this. Let's test it and see if everything is working well. Okay, this is the character. Let's test the hair first. Okay, if you observe, the hair is moving, the shape is shuffling through the available hairstyles you have. If you observe them, as you can see, the hair is really moving. Let's test it up. Okay, same thing goes to the top. The tops are also shuffling through the available tops you have. Now for the material, let's check the material. Observe the color of the pants. Going to full screen mode there for you to observe that. So, full screen mode, pants. Yeah. If you observe the color of the pants changed. I changed that, it's also shifted. You observe that. Yeah, that's purple. That's brown. That's light green. Purple again. Brown. Right. Light green. You can also select whatever top you want. The hairstyle can be changed. You can also do this for the character eyes and the character body parts, even that they are separate objects. It's very possible. So now let's move to how to proceed to the main playable scene. So I'm going to create a button for that. Go back to background, main dress room, create another button, UI button. Okay, the size is fine. Let's create any size there. Some time. I'm going to change this to play button. Increase play button size by 20. No, let's try 30. 30. Okay, 30 will do. And the play button now. Select the play button and scroll down to the event. You can see event, the unclick event. So I think alright. Sorry for the web cut. Next, we're going to move to the unclick event right there. We're going to add 2 events. Why am I adding 2 events? Okay, why I'm adding 2 events is so that we can call save and also call load. So basically, we're going to have to save the character preferences before we call load. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to drag costume manager into this game object slot here, and the first function you're going to call for save, so that you can save the character preference. And next you're going to call for load. So as you know it, to load the data, the character data and the playable scene. So I'm going to save that. Let's see if this will load the scene or something else. This should work fine if you set up everything right from the UI and fill up the slots. So I'm going to change the character here. Yeah, that one looks rugged. Change the top. Alright, pants. You can also change the shoes, but I'm not going to do that because it's material too. So basically it's the same method with the pants. So let's click on play to see what will happen. Okay. This is nice. Okay, if you observe, we loaded into the playable scene, but the issue here is the main camera. Playable scene is got no camera. Yeah, so let's fix that. Alright guys, so I found a way to fix the camera issue once you get once in playable mode. And then to fix that, we should have another camera. So you add another camera, another main camera, and then you add camera rig. And then it asks you for a target. It's asking you for a target, so I'm going to do some camera targets. Like after that. The next thing I'm going to do is observe the map appearance. Yeah, this one has to be disabled. Also in play mode so that it won't interrupt to the main camera. So to do that, you're going to drag this and place this in the main dress room. If you observe, that has made it come down to this point here. So to fix that, I'm going to disable the vertical layout, so you can move this guy back here. So that if you disable the main dressing room, everything gets disabled there. background, disable the image. We have that. Okay. I'm going to copy this image from our main background. Replace this right here. I can disable this one here. Oh, we have something else. Okay, why I did that is I think the main background is going to interrupt the view of the camera once we're in play mode. Let's test this. Let's just test this. So click on play. I have the main background. Main background is a big problem. So to show you that this works, you can just disable the image. Right, so you see the character in the main. So click on escape key. You can change the top parts. So for the main background, the issue come to our main background here and disable the image. Yeah, disabling the image will not solve, will make things look terrible, but for this tutorial video, I'm going to disable the image so that to interrupt the workflow of the tool. So this test is click on play. Now we can see the background of the game world because of that image I disabled. I think I'm not really a UI designer. Let's just proceed. So change the hair at the top and play. Let's us in the game menu. Let me play this around. At some point I need to change my tools. Okay? Just press escape key. It just pops up the menu for editing. Observe it's popping up the playable dressing room and not the main dressing room. The main dressing room is disabled until we're back to our, of course, the main dressing room. So change the hair. Do something like that. It's a nice hair. Tops. Yeah, the jacket is fine. Escape. Press my escape key button again and that goes off. Still around. Okay, with disables, another cool feature I want to know about is the use smart reader stats. If I click this now, I click on play. And this should not play the same. Yeah, notice the playable scene and the character at the anchor points with the same character presets. You also have the same login and the jackets I was using in my previous game. Alright, thanks for watching. God bless. And forgive my UI design. I'm terrible at UI design, but I just wanted to show you how to integrate the Unity UI system with the character custom. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to my channel for more updates. This too.